Welcome to today's Behavior Byte, a tip about behavior with resources for your continued exploration. Before we get started, let's review the mission and commitment of the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network. The mission of PATN is to support the efforts and initiatives of the Bureau of Special Education and to build the capacity of local educational agencies to serve students who receive special education services. Our goal for each child is to ensure individualized education program teams begin with a general education setting with the use of supplementary aids and services before considering a more restrictive environment. Today's Behavior Byte is Media Literacy Education, Improving Learning and Health of K-12 Students. As we move through this bite of behavior, we will first reflect upon current research related to students and digital media, then connect to the whole school, whole community, whole child model, and then finally touch upon several resources to support your LEA's digital media practices. Let's first visit a few definitions. As you begin to take inventory of the plans your school may or may not already have in place, it's helpful to understand that many of the terms, depending on your resources, overlap or can be slightly different. For this Behavior Byte, we offer these brief definitions as shared by both the National Association of Media Literacy Education and the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. As you see here, digital citizenship is typically the aim of curriculum, and within it works to build information, media, and digital literacy for students. The idea of digital citizenship education or media literacy education is the educational field dedicated to teaching the skills associated with media literacy. It's also the set of resources, activities, and pedagogical approaches involved in teaching those literacies. In order to strategically embed literacy skills that support digital citizenship, schools require a plan. This Behavior Byte introduces how to do this through both a school health plan and a digital media literacy plan. Note that the name of the plan may vary between schools. Now let's take a look at some of the current research regarding the impact and use of digital media. Know that there is an abundance of research that reports to stakeholders current usage data for children and digital devices. In a landmark report released by Common Sense Media in 2019 on daily media use, tweens, students between the ages of 8 and 12, daily screen use averaged 4 hours and 44 minutes, and teenagers, ages 13 to 18, screen use averaged 7 hours and 22 minutes. This does not include time spent using media for school or homework. In addition to usage data, next let's consider this research by Rideout and Robb. Digital divide is the term used to express inequities and gaps detected in subgroups. This data illustrates the digital divide in home internet access. Efforts to close the digital divide in home computer and internet access have stalled since 2017, with more than 26% of lower-income families lacking access to internet and more than 37% of low-income families without a home computer. This means that schools need a strategic plan to support students and their families. At a time when remote learning has become essential, failure to address the divide could be devastating to many students and student outcomes. Digital divides are also reported by geography and by race ethnicity, as can be seen here. There is yet another kind of divide to be aware of, and that is the divide among school districts themselves. As schools were forced to dive into all things technology to keep their instruction afloat throughout the pandemic, some schools were better positioned than others in regards to technology they already had in place. However, many schools struggle to keep up with the recent developments and instructional needs related to digital technology. They may be lacking resources, instructional skills, competencies, or interest. It has been acknowledged that schools and the education of children should undergo an extensive digital transformation to be able to keep up and meet the needs of the current generation and their digitalized future. The pandemic very suddenly and abruptly forced schools and the field of education to engage in such transformations. Where is your LEA today in regards to their digital media literacy plans? Does the plan address potential gaps in the provision of technology for families and access to digital media? So how does all of this relate to student behavior? In addition to the equity issues stakeholders may experience within a district-wide system, research reveals that adults are very concerned about the unmitigated access to digital media, specifically via smartphones. Many school teams are fearful of the over-reliance of instruction upon technology, especially for some K-12 students who are showing signs of addiction. Here are a few behaviors that may be indicative of cell phone addiction. While this is a potential negative outcome related to digital media, schools that strategically position their systems and practices in an effort to address student learning and student health can teach students how to avoid these negative outcomes, such as the addictive behaviors listed here. One final negative outcome related to media we will touch upon in this behavior bite is the direct relationship between increased screen media exposure and obesity. Interestingly, teaching students how to utilize digital media interventions that are designed to prevent and reduce obesity should be part of a district school health plan. Schools with school health plans that infuse digital media literacy plans will be better prepared to teach K-12 students how to avoid these pitfalls as students build lifelong healthy habits and behaviors. Now let's turn to some of the positive outcomes given access to digital media. Increased access to mental health supports, an increase in use of self-monitoring tools, longer attention span, increased intrinsic motivation to learn, higher classroom participation and student engagement, greater academic achievement, and stronger digital literacy. Research continues to identify benefits that occur as a result of K-12 students who have purposeful access to digital media. Schools that operate with a digital media literacy plan addressing the use of technology and digital media improve learning and health as they equip their students for future employment. This is imperative. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, every industry and job requires skill sets relative to technology and digital media. The role of education is clearly not to avoid digital media, but rather place serious effort into building digital citizenship skills for kids. Given this brief review of several positive and negative outcomes for kids related to digital media consumption, let's position ourselves to get strategic. The impact of digital technology use on student well-being is clear. Use this simple logic. Passive use of digital media leads to negative effects. Purposeful and active use of digital media leads to positive outcomes. As teachers utilize digital citizenship curriculum that builds literacy, teaching and modeling for students how to purposefully engage media through their devices is the key to improving student learning and student health. There is, of course, a symbiotic relationship between learning and health. Therefore, taking action that purposefully addresses the needs and outcomes of both student learning and student health is not only efficient but proves to be effective. Therefore, the goal is not to limit student access to digital media and technology, but place effort into being strategic about improving student learning and health around digital media. As you begin to consider action to take regarding digital media, ask yourself if your LEA utilizes a school health model, such as this one, that drives their school health plan. Since technology and digital media bring health concerns and benefits, schools should aim to address the use of digital media as part of their school health plan. This model is utilized by the CDC to support schools in their approach to coordinated school health. This is not a tool, but rather a framework with which school teams can huddle as they address each of the 10 blue components. The child is in the center and is the focal point of the model. The child is encircled by the whole child tenets in green, being healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. The white band emphasizes the alignment, integration, and collaboration needed among the school, health, and community sectors to improve each child's learning and health. Represented in the blue, the multiple school components surround the child, acting as the hub that provides the full range of learning and health support systems to each child, in each school, in each community. The community, represented in yellow, demonstrates that while the school may be a hub, it remains a focal reflection of its community and requires community input, resources, and collaboration. For today, our intersection is the whole child and digital media. We feature resources and practices for improving learning and improving health for each of the 5 whole child tenets. As educators, we can teach and empower students to be healthy, be safe, be engaged, be supported, and challenged by implementing interrelated practices that aim to improve both student learning and student health around digital media. We know that learning and health are related. In fact, they are interrelated. Where one succeeds, that success feeds the other. Up next are each of the 5 tenets of the whole child with ideas and resources that will improve both student learning and student health.
Let's start with the first tenet, students who are healthy. What you see here will support your efforts to improve both the learning and health of K-12 students. These ideas should be captured in your digital media literacy plan and embedded throughout your school and/or district's curriculum. Common Sense Media has been a trusted resource for millions of families in the digital age, at home, in schools, and beyond. They draw on original research, industry expertise, and community support to advocate for legislation and policies that help all kids thrive. Common Sense Media helps bridge the gap between home and school, offering information and tools that empower school communities to address challenges and prepare students for the future. It is also helpful to be aware that what we know is harmful to kids when they spend endless amounts of time aimlessly wandering through digital media with their devices. Research has shown that excessive and addictive use of digital media affects students' physical, psychological, social, and neurological well-being. It may impact their sleep habits, exercise habits, eating habits, and vision. It may even negatively impact their ability to self-regulate, to cope with stressors, and their mood. This means schools must take action towards installing, implementing, and sustaining a digital media literacy plan for both the adults and the students. Such a plan supports adults in recognizing and addressing the negative effects of such behavior. In addition to healthy use of digital media, educators must consider incorporating education around safe digital media usage. Students may be unaware of the dangers of online activities to their mental and physical health, such as predators, anxiety and depression, and identity theft. This makes safety lessons a priority. Common Sense Media offers several options for teacher lessons and student game simulations to teach online safety. Issues that can be found on the Common Sense Media site to address this are cyberbullying, inappropriate content, sexting, self-harm, screen time, radicalization, online grooming, online pornography, online reputation, and privacy and identity theft. Before we unpack the third tenet of the whole child, engage, let's briefly remind ourselves of the power of authentic engagement. When it comes to behavior, students who are engaged in school and in learning are more likely to experience behavioral and social emotional success throughout the school environments. Schools with a digital media literacy plan can be effective in teaching and reminding teachers of appropriate use of technology and digital media to supplement student learning to reinforce the need to successfully keep students engaged. Notice that there are two forms of engagement for students: school and learning. Educators can use digital media to increase purposeful engagement that leads to increased achievement and social outcomes. Students who are authentically and purposefully engaged are more likely to experience the benefits of digital media. When educators design lessons that consider students' interests and preferences, as well as their social, academic, and behavioral needs, a higher rate of motivation, engagement, and persistence in the learning process will likely ensue. Likewise, purposeful lesson design will inherently lead to the improvement of student health, physically, emotionally, and behaviorally. Strategies can be explored in the resource entitled Digital Citizenship and Social Emotional Learning. In this resource, character strengths are reinforced, including communication skills, compassion, courage, curiosity, empathy, humility, integrity, perseverance, self-control, teamwork, and gratitude using digital media and devices. This resource, Digital Citizenship and Social Emotional Learning, will be referenced at the end of these slides and will be part of the s'mores link that will take you to all of the resources that are discussed in this program. The fourth tenet of the whole child is challenged. In order to improve learning, one idea is to optimize personal choice around digital media by allowing students to set academic and behavioral goals, as well as incentivize digital citizenship that will contribute to challenging students. One example of providing choice may be to meet with the student to discuss their positive and negative media habits. Let them decide what habit may be of a challenging nature and develop an action plan to make a positive change. This could be accomplished using the Digital Habits Checkup handout that is included in the resource list. Furthermore, the building of relationships through the strategic use of digital means will assist in challenging students in establishing and maintaining rapport with both peers and adults in their lives. Educators can be creative in applying the ideas listed on this slide by strategically implementing digital methods. For example, an educator may provide a list of options to utilize the 2x10 conversation technique. In this technique, the educator chooses students to get to know better over 10 consecutive school days, to have a conversation with in some manner, not to take more than 2 minutes of time, about the student's life and your life that are not directly related to classroom content. The conversation may be about what the student did over the weekend, perhaps about their part-time job, or you may start the conversation by sharing something you did over the weekend or something you do outside the school day, such as volunteer work. What methods can you think of which could be put in place to address the preference for the use of digital tools while challenging your students with a sense of purpose and balance? The fifth and final tenet of the whole child model is supported. Let's face it, many students who have now grown up in a digital world find digital media both engaging and supportive. For a school system to ignore digital tools or continue to operate in resistance to digital learning tools, it's not realistic, nor is it in the best interest of our students. The finesse is in finding ways to productively incorporate digital media into lessons to improve both student learning and student health. To do this, however, teachers need practical, timely professional development and resources to stay current with those tools. As we conclude this behavior bite, we want to encourage your school to utilize a school health model such as the whole school, whole community, whole child model. Remember that the goal is never to avoid digital media or technology, but rather to strategically plan for its use through the development of a digital media literacy plan. In addition, incorporating digital media into your school health model will support school-wide adult understanding related to technology and digital media across the 5 tenets of the whole child model. The whole school, whole community, whole child model combines and builds on elements of the traditional coordinated school health approach and the whole child framework. The focus is directed at the whole school, with the school in turn drawing its resources and influences from the whole community, and serving to address the needs of the whole child. ASCD and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention encourage use of the model as a framework for improving students' learning and health in our nation's schools. Let's look a little bit even more closely to this model. You'll notice that the child is in the center and is the focal point of the model. The child is then encircled by the whole child tenets that we have discussed, and that's in green. Those tenets are healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. The white band emphasizes the alignment, integration, and collaboration needed among the school, health, and community sectors to improve each child's learning and health. Then represented in blue, the multiple school components, those surround the child, acting as the hub that provides the full range of learning and health support systems to each child in each school and in each community. Lastly, the community, represented in yellow, demonstrates that while the school may be a hub, it remains a focal reflection of its community and requires community input, resources, and collaboration. Now, what are your next steps? Consider thinking about what your next steps are. You're looking to improve learning? Does your school have a media literacy plan or something similar? Or looking to improve health? Does your school use a school health model? Does it account for digital media practices? Perhaps you are looking to incorporate both of those areas of improvement for your school, for your students. We hope that this Behavior Byte has provided you with helpful resources and motivated you to think about how your school can be most strategic when it comes to digital media. The potential for significant negative health outcomes related to digital media warrants the attention and strategic action of educators. During the course of this presentation, we have cited several excellent resources to assist school teams with developing a thoughtful digital media literacy plan, one that promotes the learning and health of K-12 students. The resources we have mentioned have been collected and archived through a S2E4, which is a digital communication document with direct links and embedded tools to help your team successfully create a healthy and sustainable digital media literacy plan. This interactive resource has a treasure trove of items for you to explore and to share with other educators, families, and stakeholders. Items range from tip sheets by age ranges, links to websites for teaching digital media literacy, research-based articles, brief videos, and so much more. To access the S2E4, please scan the QR code on the screen or use the URL provided at the bottom of the slide. The references listed here and on the following slide are all items that were utilized to empower this byte of behavior. This Behavior Byte has been brought to you by Patton's Learning, Environment, and Engagement Initiative, formerly known as the Behavior Initiative. If you need additional assistance or information, please contact your regional office. Just check out the patton.net website. Go to the About Us tab, and it will take you to the office addresses and contact information. We have 3 offices across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In the west is Pittsburgh, central part of the state is Harrisburg, and in the eastern part of the Commonwealth, the office is in Malvern. And remember, this is just a bite of information on digital media literacy. Check out the Patent website for the Behavior Bytes series for both upcoming and archived Behavior Bytes. Hope to see you at the next Behavior Byte coffee break.